Happy Black History Month. Where are you celebrating from? What conversations are you holding within your community? President Gerald Ford, during his reign, called upon the public to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout their history. Today, Black History Month in the U.S. is a time to honor the contributions and legacy of African Americans. It is noted, however, that the Black History Month is not only a U.S. celebration, but also lately recognized by Canada and the UK. So much history, right? Hello and welcome to Diaspora Life with me, Pasil Telewa, and my co-host, Chris. This time, Chris speaks to African scholars in the U.S., including Mkawasi Charo, to get their perspective on what the Black History Month means to them.
Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing their central role in U.S. history. Also known as African American History Month, the event grew out of Negro History Week, the brainchild of noted historian Carter G. Woodson and other prominent African Americans. Since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month. Other countries around the world, including Canada and the UK, also devote a month to celebrating Black history. Also, since 1976, every American president has designated February as Black History Month and endorsed a specific theme. This year, the Black History Month theme is Black Health and Wellness. This theme explores the legacy of not only Black scholars and medical practitioners in Western medicine, but also other forms of healing among the African diaspora. The 2022 theme considers activities, rituals, and initiatives that Black communities have done to be well and stay well. For Black families in the diaspora, this month is a period in which they gather their children at the dinner table and narrate to them stories of the Black man's struggles, triumphs, and innovations. Over the years, as an African journalist in the US, I've always sought out Mkawasi Charo Hall to put such events in perspective. I arrive at her house and find her in the kitchen preparing one of her husband's favorite dishes, pork chops, ugali and sukuma wiki, and of course, mandazi. Mkawasi is one of the most consequential Kenyans living in the US. As a founder member and later president of the now dormant Kenyan community abroad, a pressure group that is credited for making the case for dual citizenship and voting rights for the diaspora, Mkawasi is not just a community leader but also a repository and living memory of the story of the Kenyan diaspora in the US. She can practically talk about the community from sunup to sundown, or so to speak.
I was born in Taita, and I was born to teachers. Both my parents have been teachers. And my father has been an administrator. He'd been an administrator in schools, a principal in different schools. So he came out of the post-colonial generation that after education in Kenya, they went outside to do their education. So my father got his degree from the American University in Beirut. My mother, meanwhile, she went on to college and learned how to become a teacher, a primary school teacher. So teachers at that time were very highly respected. It's not like today where they have to take to the streets and demand better pay and respect. So that alone, I think, really shaped who I was or who I have become, because teaching became part of me as well. So that in anything I have done in my life, I almost approach everything as if I were a teacher. Not to mention, I have taught classrooms before. I have been in the classroom and I have taught. All the way, I've taught elementary schools, I've taught high schools, I've taught college. My father later on, after being a headmaster or school principal and planting several schools in Kenya, he later on went into politics and he became a member of parliament. for 2 terms. He was a member of parliament for Mwatate. So that fighting spirit and the passion to change the situation of the people of his place where he was born, the people in Taita, a passion that has never died, also informed the person that I became. Because I grew up watching my father fight. I grew up watching my father confront authority. I grew up watching my father confront the people who were in government before he was in government. I remember that very clearly. And I think while I was only just a child then, I think as a teenager then, these things went into my mind and just sat there. And I think when I grew up, I pretty much knew I had a lot of who he was in me, as somebody who always found herself confronting injustices in authority, and also asking why not. Always asking why not. Why can't we do this? Why are we in Kenya? Why are we Kenyans 1,000 miles away, yet we cannot do this just because of the distance between where we were born and where we are? It's ridiculous. And to date, it's still the same things we're fighting about. So we want some things like dual citizenship, so that we are fully Kenyans no matter where we are. And now we are fighting for the ability to vote. Although the Constitution recognizes that we can vote, the implementation process is not there because there is no political will to effect it. So it's always a fight.
We'll talk about that in details. But many people, when did you come to the US?
Right, we were talking about my story. See, this is, okay.
Under what circumstances?
Okay. Anytime I start with my story, I tend to veer off into the non-personal, because somehow I never find a disconnection between who I am and the communities I live in. I came here in 1997. After I had already done my first degree, my bachelor's degree at the University of Nairobi. I got an opportunity because I had relatives in New York who helped me get my paperwork done for college application. And that allowed me to come here. And also because my aunt had a home in New York, that helped me start off, which was such immense grace because of the life of a Kenyan here. If you land here and you do not know where you're going to live, or you do not have a scholarship that guarantees you a place to live, you're in for a difficult time. So that helped me start off. And also at that time it was easier to find a job. I got a job. I was able to start working and start paying my fees through college. And once I graduated, I also got another opportunity to continue with my my profession, and here I am. Now I've become an American, and that was not my intention.
Black History Month is also a period of reflection for the Black community abroad. The Kenyan community in the US is growing in numbers, and people like Mkawazi know that 100 years from now, the Kenyan community will have firmly established its roots in the US. Indeed, the diaspora community's impact has been and continue to be felt in Kenya in terms of remittances, and this is social welfare style kind of contributions that not only help to stabilize the Kenyan shilling on the international market, but also keep the society healthy and educated. How do you see the community evolving? Because as it is, you're here to stay. Now it's almost like confirmed that most Kenyans you find here to stay. How do you see it evolving?
Here's how we are evolving. We're not only here to stay, we're increasing. And even Trump's administration's efforts to kick immigrants out, all immigrants that are out of status, even the ones who are still in status but find a glitch anywhere. You've heard all kinds of strange stories. Even with the Trump's administration being very harsh on immigrants, Kenyans in the diaspora are increasing. So we better find a way to thrive. And my hope right now, on the collective level, as Kenyans in the diaspora, is that we will let our children lead the way. Because, and by our children I mean the generation of Kenyans who were born here to Kenyan parents, who are over 18. Yeah, there's some very smart ones even who are 16 and on. I've met them. I mean, empower these kids. For us, our generation, just build your houses, just make your money, just stash those accounts with as much money as you can, with education funds for your kids. Send your money to your parents and help other people in Kenya.
First, like I said, everyone knows that you're very passionate about everything Kenyan and Kenyan, not only back at home but also back here. In your understanding of the Kenyan community over the years, what changes have you noticed amongst Kenyans? Is the Kenyan community getting better, or what kind of what would you say about this evolving and growing American Kenyan community?
Right. Yes and no, as in getting better and not getting better. There are areas in which the Kenyan community here is getting better. On an individual level, the Kenyans here have really pulled themselves by the proverbial bootstraps, and they are doing very well. We're talking on an individual level where a lot of Kenyans have finished their education and gotten opportunities, and they have worked hard to do anything they can to make ends meet. A lot of Kenyans start off from zero when they get here. Most Kenyans who come here are not from rich families. And even those who are from rich families and they come here, they're pretty much at par with an immigrant who just came here, and it's a struggle. So I have seen a lot of Kenyans who've done very well for themselves. They have moved from living in basements or living with relatives who helped them come here to moving to their own basements. And from there they have moved to a one-bedroom apartment. From there to another little house, and now they've bought their own homes. They are now raising families for the 2 decades and more that I've known Kenyans here. Some of them that I met were single, just like me. Now they're raising families, and they have helped their people at home. They send a lot of money at home. And just by the mere fact that the totality of Kenyans here send so much money in Kenya, every year it increases, right? Because that number of remittances increases every year, it tells you something. One, that the number of Kenyans who are coming in here are increasing annually, and two, that their productivity is increasing as well. So that's on an individual basis. On a collective basis though, Chris, it's the opposite. We've been going down. There is no Kenya in the US. The only time you really call yourself a Kenyan is if there's a context of being questioned about what country you come from. But the concept of Kenya disappears when you come to the US. What remains for Kenyans here is the ethnic identity.
But even as this community grows and its impact is felt both at home and abroad, it still also remains as one of the most divided communities in the US. Balkanization along ethnic and tribal lines has ensured that the community remains divided, with no collective voice to advocate for voting rights and representation in the governance and leadership structures at home. This is what really breaks Mkawasi's heart as she marks another Black History Month in the US. Lastly, Mkawasi, 20, 50 years from now, where do you see the Kenyan community in the US?
I actually have a very optimistic view of the Kenyan community in the US 20, 30 years from now. Very optimistic. And my optimism comes from the different mindset of the Kenyan community that is growing out of the generation of Kenyans who came here. One, it's a blend of Kenyan American children who were born here. 20, 30 years later, they're going to be grown-ups, and they will look for someone to identify. They will look for a country to identify with, for their own personal identity. two, I think there's a section of Kenyans who are becoming very wary of the divisive politics and want to see something different. It's not going to happen soon. It's not going to happen tomorrow or the next year. But I really have a very optimistic view of the community here. As a matter of fact, I have no doubt. Having seen how individual Kenyans work here, I have no doubt that in the next generation, 20, 30 years from now, it's going to be one of the most powerful communities, immigrant communities. I have no doubt.
In our next segment, Fatma Nadir, a Kenyan based in Toronto, Canada, shares with us interesting conversations she holds with Kenyan Canadian boys.
My name is Fatma Nadir and I am a Kenyan Canadian. Very, very pleased to call both countries home, and I hold them both near and dear to my heart. I am very well involved in our community here in Canada. I am volunteering with the Kenyan Canadian Association as the Director of Social Empowerment, and very much involved with our community here as well. So to your question, Chris, Canada has been celebrating Black History Month for very, very many years. If I recall well, since 1976, and prior to that, it was called like Black History Week, and then it evolved to Black History Month. And that's how Black history became, something that was of a permanent fixture in our calendar here in Canada.
Awesome. So Fatma, one of the reasons why I wanted to speak to you is because I was told that you're really involved with the Kenyan community, especially. I mean, you've done some things in the past concerning Black History Month. That's how I came across you. But before we even speak about what you've been able to do, what does Black History Month mean to you at a personal level?
So on a personal level, for us, when we are born outside Canada, back home, our history was more of how we gained independence from colonialism in Kenya, freedom, how we fought for freedom, and those are what we grew up. But then when I came to Canada, and as I said, my kids were born here, we also have to learn the history of the country and embrace it as our own. And what's interesting is that part of the way it started is they did come from Africa. The Black Canadians did have roots back home. So we definitely have to embrace this history as our own as well because of that very strong connection. So Black History Month to me is a month that we celebrate and honor the legacies of Black Canadians in our communities. The Black community has shaped and continues still to shape the Canadian history and have done so much in adding their own flavor in our rich diversity, the culture, and our Canadian heritage. So with regards to our own people that came and lived here in Canada, little is mentioned that, the men and the women that came and settled back in the Maritimes during the American Revolution were people of African descent. And many of them also were soldiers that fought in and contributed and sacrificed during the wars, way back in the 1800s. So these people are the ones that we celebrate and we honor them. And it's important that they're mentioned. Every month is not enough, but at least we get to bring these conversations and have people learn about what they sacrificed and where we are today because of what they sacrificed back then.
That is so awesome, because one of the things that when people talk about Black History Month, many people from around the world associate that with the Dr. Martin Luther King and his struggles, and the struggles in America around slavery and freedoms. Today I've learned that those struggles were not really restricted to America, but also in Canada. But again, for you guys now, Kenyans of African descent in Canada, when of course you are celebrating this event this month, what is the kind of conversation you have with your children at the dinner table? What do you talk to your children, most of who are born in Canada, about what this day and this month means?
Mm-hmm. So thank you for that question. Yeah, so I did at one point ask my kids, what does Black History Month mean to you? And he says it means celebrating, again, as I said that, because that's what they're taught in school. It's celebrating the people of the past, the Black people that came to Canada and made their sacrifices, and still contributing. Right now, we are struggling as well. There is some sort of struggles that they have to experience. So it is back then and also right now, as we have to continue these conversations. I was quite impressed with his answer, because it's not just on the past, but even at the present moment, that these conversations still have to happen. Because you know what, the history has been is in the past. They've done their share, but right now what we are experiencing is going to be the history for our next generation.
That's true.
Right? So that's the kind of conversations that we've had.
So I know you guys have not you, but different groups have different activities scheduled during this month. We are coming close to the end of the month, especially in the US. Are you doing something in terms of preparing for, I mean, just as a continuation of the kind of conversations you've been having with the Black community in Canada concerning this month?
Yes, actually we do. We do have an event that's coming on the 26th of February. It's virtual, as you know, because we are not able to do a big event this year. In 2019, we did have the celebrations done at the City Hall here in Brampton, which our mayor of Brampton was there. We actually had our flag raised on that event as well, which was really amazing. But in this month, we're going to be doing an event online, again, to bring awareness to the community about Black history, and have that conversation about what it's all about, right? Because we have newcomers that have joined us from different communities in our community as well that will be curious, and it would be a good opportunity to have these conversations so that others can learn and appreciate what Black history is all about.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Unfortunately, that's all time could allow us to share. Many thanks for watching Diaspora Life. Join us again next week and every Friday at 8 p.m. Kenyan time on KTN News for stories of Kenyans with diaspora experiences. Do you have a story you'd like to share with the world? Let us help you tell it by sending us an email through diasporalife@standardmedia.co.ke or DM our social media platforms at diaspora_life and at KTN News Kenya. Remember to download Standard Fix app for lots of juicy stories both in Kenya and the diaspora. You can also follow me at Pasil Telewa on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok for more interaction. Wishing you a fantastic evening and see you again next week, same time, same place.